Hello class, I'm Christopher Perez. This internship for Summer B, I went ahead and completed my second rotation for Internship 1, my clinical setting. It took place under Catholic Health Services. They have a rehab and nursing center that is better known as St. Anne's Nursing Center. It is located on 11855 Quail Ridge Drive, Miami, Florida. The entire population that you find there is really geriatric. It's a Catholic health setting, as I mentioned. It's founded by Catholic Health Services, who actually offers a variety of therapies, whether it be aquatic therapy, in home service, elderly housing, assisted living. However, at St. Anne's, it's really just a rehab facility and nursing center. They also have an ALF on the grounds. However, we didn't really work alongside the ALF. We really just worked in activities with the rehab center. Um, the majority of the population, as I mentioned, is geriatric. The people we came across really just had some form of dementia, whether it be brought on by Alzheimer's or a stroke that they endured. There wasn't really, I expected that we were going to come across like your typical rehab setting where it was basically just an elderly population of clients that may have endured like a slip and fall or some sort of tumble and where they're rehabbing like a hip and arm. But really, it was, we came across numerous patients that had cognitive impairment regarding their memory and their daily function due to Alzheimer's, as I mentioned, or dementia. However, it was a very pleasant experience. The population, doesn't. I thought we were gonna end up with the typical stigma of the geriatric population, where it was really just grouchy, grumpy, miserable clients, and it was actually the complete opposite. These people were of the utmost delight, and you really realize like what an impact you have with them, and it was great. Moving forward though, the biggest struggle with this population was probably keeping them engaged. As I mentioned, they're either very elderly or the dementia gets the best of them. So there would be times where you would be trying to conduct an activity and they would just ramble on about something that happened way back when, or they'd talk to you about their home country, and they'd just be like, "Oh, I remember this and this." Would like whatever activity you were doing would trigger a reminder, some sort of you're traveling back in time. And they would just talk about like, "Oh, back in my country, this and that and the other," and it had nothing to do with what was going on. But for I guess it was difficult keeping some engaged because they're not as mentally able as some other clients. So you kind of had to handle them on a case by case basis where like those that you knew were capable of engaging in the activity, you would just if they decided to ramble a little or they just kind of had like a lapse in memory or they weren't really following, then you would just prompt them to continue to engage in the activity or re-explain the activity. However, some you knew that you weren't going to be able to get them to get the activity done, but it was better than letting them just doze off and sleep there and not do anything. So what I would do was just continue the conversation. Most of the population was either from Cuba or they grew up here, and I can relate because I was born here, but I was raised with Cuban parents, so I'm used to hearing like the stories of what it was like back there and whatnot. So I would really just continue the conversation and hear them out, hear their story, see what they had to say. As I mentioned, I guess I would rather hear them talk and like have them interact and have that social well-being and overall communication, as opposed to just letting them sleep and slump in their wheelchair. So, other than that, uh, what was the next question? I'm sorry. The most effective technique we actually engaged in was, in my opinion, playing darts with the clients because you had a group of them. They were all engaging in the same game. It was pretty stellar for their social well-being, their social interaction, because they would all encourage one another, give each other little tips and crack jokes. Cognitively, it was actually rather effective in my opinion because you had to have all the clients focusing on the board. They're trying to read the score on the board depending on where the dart landed. They're, adding their scores together. They're training their memory and keeping track of like, oh, I scored this and so scored whatever. So they kind of, it involves a lot of different skills that, I mean, there's a lot of different things being prompted that overall are just helping their fine motor skills as well. It was just a very effective activity where it keeps them engaged mentally, physically, socially. So I thought it was a rather good activity to play with the clients. Um, However, I would also say it's actually one of the more challenging ones to conduct with the clients because they're all wheelchair bound. So it was sometimes difficult moving everyone out of the way, lining them up in front of the dartboard, trying to gauge who needed to go at what distance, not only so that they could successfully complete the activity and be able to hit the board. However, at the same time, there's some that are they're a little more aware of what's going on, mentally than others. So some of them would actually get competitive and be like, "Oh, well, that's not fair because he's closer than I am or she's closer than I am," and you kind of had to take a step back and like explain to them like, "Hey, like they can't move as great as you can, so you got to give them a chance. We're all just here to have fun. Like, let him get as close as he needs or as she needs just to be able to actually reach the dartboard." So that was pretty funny, but it was also one of the more challenging activities. Um, what else? Oh, the single greatest moment with a client, in my opinion, was actually this one elderly lady who she knew what was going on and she knew where she was. She was aware of her surroundings. Um, it took place maybe on like my second week interning. I want to say it was maybe like on a Wednesday. We were just there together. Just we had just had lunch. We were out front, just enjoying some fresh air, engaging in conversation. So I asked her like what condition she had or what her case may be because I really just couldn't even tell. This lady was she was all there. I mean, we completed three, four, 500 piece puzzles together, playing Jenga. She knew what day it was. She was always aware. She always knew like what was going on. She was probably one of the sharpest clients that I interacted with. However, I was just completely shocked and astounded when she told me that she had endured a stroke, and that's why she was here at the rehab center so that she can regain her mobility, memory exercises so she could understand everything that had happened and what may have you. So I actually found it kind of funny because she remembered everything, 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 everything. Who her kids were, what her condition was, how it happened, what's happening, how many days she had left before she would be released, etc. And the funny part was she would just say, "The only thing I don't remember is how I got here. Like, I know why I'm here, but I don't remember how I got here." So it was pretty funny. And then she was telling me her story as to after her stroke, she had forgotten who her kids were. But I was freaked out that she remembered having forgotten her children and the process that she went through that, that they came in with their scrapbooks and all sorts of, activities and pictures and plane tickets and stuff that they had all done together to prove to her that hey mom, like we're your kids. You need to remember who we are. And not only did she remember having forgotten, but she remembered everything. It was astounding. And maybe 2 days after she tells me that entire story, I actually meet her daughter. So it was incredible when I tell the daughter, I'm like, "Oh my God, I couldn't believe that, she had her stroke, she forgot everything, she forgot who you were, and then now she remembers you, and she even remembers having forgotten you." And she tells the story as to how you got her to remember you. I was just amazed. So it was kind of funny. It was touching to meet the daughter, and really, it wasn't even so much about meeting the daughter and relating the experience. It was I think the greatest part of it was seeing how much she had progressed and realizing how valuable our company is to these clients and the fact that her daughter already pretty much knew who I was because they would talk on the phone day to day, and she had described me to the T, down to my birthmark. Like, it was hilarious. The daughter was like, "Oh yeah, they talk about you all the time and how much they love your company here." And it felt nice not only knowing that they cherish your company and interacting with you, but and like as I mentioned, it was great knowing that she had made that much progress, cognitively and physically from when she had endured her stroke. Moving forward, I think under the supervision of Carolina, definitely one of her greatest strengths is her personality. She's very spunky and bubbly, and she's just the sweetest with all the clients. Sometimes I've been in other settings and other internships, even outside of internships. My grandmother was once in a nursing home, and you can kind of just tell like who has it and who doesn't, and like who has that charisma, that real nurturing kind of personality and patience to deal with these clients. And Carolina definitely has that. I feel like that's a very, very, very strong suit in her field. She takes the time to interact and care for each and every single client, whether they're asleep in their wheelchair, completely aware of what's going on, whether they come and go. She takes the time to actually address them and gauge to see if they're there mentally today. She doesn't just kind of blow them off like, oh, this guy's always asleep. Like, she takes the time and she puts in the effort. And it was pretty admirable to see that she leaves the office work, in the office, and comes out and checks up on her clients, and the way that she takes the time and pays attention to them. So that was nice to see that she wasn't just, always slammed in the office. So she would actually come out and, interact with everyone. So that was definitely a plus. Even the clients that were asleep that I would have trouble keeping engaged and talking to and whatnot, she would just come in screaming good morning and smiling, and shaking them back and forth in their wheelchairs, stretching their arms up and down, and she would just find a way to get them engaged, get them awake, get them smiling, get them to realize who she was and laughing. So it was very neat. Um, Lastly, I guess I could say one of the strengths I see within myself as a future therapist would be kind of similar to Carolina, where definitely bubbly, talkative. I can talk with these clients for days. I like to listen to them, and that genuine, sincere friendship that can be provided to these clients, and nurturing them, having the patience to deal with them. I mean, I right now, besides interning, I actually work with 32 different children who have autism, providing ABA therapy. So it definitely takes a toll, and it takes patience. Um, I guess you could just say I'm kind of relentless. I don't really like to just let a patient, sleep in front of me and just sleep all day. I have the patience to engage them and try and probe and see, utilize different methods or techniques to actually get them engaged, even if it's something they don't like. Just find something else and not give up, and kind of just do what you need to do to keep them engaged and active. So I guess that's pretty much it. Hope everyone's enjoyed the video. If you have any other questions about St. Anne's and my experience there, just feel free to drop a comment below. And I look forward to watching all your videos. So take care.